Hello, dear friends. God never loses sight of our eternal potential, even if we lose sight of it. Carol Stephens. Opinion piece. Persian Magician. Sleight of hand. Operational reset. Orchestrated chaos. Reset under enemy fire. Let's start. A Persian magician was a Zoroastrian priest belonging to the magic caste, who were experts in religious rituals, astrology, dream interpretation, and esoteric knowledge. They had great influence in the Persian court and in the political and religious life of the empire. They performed sacrifices, sacred rituals, astrological interpretations, and were guardians of spiritual and moral knowledge. According to Benjamin Fulford, the attack in Iran is like a Persian magician using sleight of hand to distract people from organizing a revolution. In other words, the videos and computer graphics of missiles impacting are partly intended to dissuade people in the West from hanging many of their leaders from the nearest lamppost. In his view, this is a small group that managed size to control of 90% of the world multinational corporations and most of the Western ruling class. This has been combined with a sophisticated propaganda and censorship campaign to try to divide humankind into war. The messianic forces, who took control of much of the West's political and economic apparatus, believed they could bring their messiah, but this is blowing up in their faces because it's not true. They failed to realize that manipulating public opinion fails when faced with reality. As Abraham Lincoln said, "You can fool all the people some of the time, and some of the people all the time, but you can't fool all the people all the time." In his view, the attack on Iran is a Hail Mary to usher in the Third World Party and avoid trials for war crimes. It will fail like all his other attempts, because the truth is not on his side. He adds that the real Trump vetoed an Israeli plan to assassinate Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, a few days ago. He clearly doesn't yet have enough power to arrest those who impersonate him or falsify his statements on television. The Iranians support replacing Israel with the nation of Judea. This would grant equal rights to Palestinian and the immigrant Jewish population. It's worth remembering that during World War II, Iran granted passports to Jews to help them escape the Holocaust. They also have a healthy and respected Jewish population, so this is not and never has been an Iranian persecution of Jews. Silent change. According to Mr. Poole, the chaos on the surface masks a systemic shift. Gulf markets plummeted on Monday. This is evidence of the clash of legacy liquidity pipelines tied to Gulf reserves, which flow into QFS asset mapping nodes. Gulf central banks quietly disconnected SWIFT gateways in parallel to the sound of sirens, reallocating their digital reserves to quantum-secure vaults. Satellite-powered QFS models in Dubai, Doha, and Manama are handling the flow. Overnight, millions were redirected without triggering a public alert. Got-back rainbow tokens pledged to Gulf reserves were quietly activated, unannounced but recorded on the QFS layers. This is not a conflict, but an operational reset under enemy fire. Missiles provide cover, markets react with panic, and the QFS increases its control over global reserves with a silent transaction. Everyone panics over oil prices. We track leaks in the legal system. They call it war. We call it reset. Today, a truth is confirmed. They can crash the markets, but they cannot stop the quantum network from extracting and securing true value. Revelation. Ismael Perez claims that humankind is on the verge of the greatest revelation in history, with hidden truths about origins, advanced technologies, and suppressed history about to be disclosed. He predicts a quantum shift in human consciousness, with technological, spiritual, and even genetic enhancements for humankind. He also refers to the possibility of a 3-day darkness event, ascension to a higher dimensional Earth, and the activation of crystalline DNA. Perez suggests that Putin and Trump are secretly allied as part of the coalition, working to dismantle the dark side and prevent the escalation of conflict in the Middle East. He asserts that recent meetings between world leaders were part of a broader strategy to neutralize the influence of the dark side and avoid a world war. Ismael Perez asserts that long-term systems such as governments, media, finance, religion, and science have kept humankind in the dark, but that awakening and revelation are now unstoppable. He describes the implementation of the QFS, which will replace the current fiat-based financial system, with a secure asset-backed and transparent digital system. This new system is already operational in several countries and will usher in a new era of abundance, sovereignty, and equity, ending the financial control of the central banks. Opinions. According to Sierra, President Trump is negotiating peace in the Middle East. According to the Storm Rider, when Trump deployed the Marines, they didn't believe it was possible, but it happened very quickly and halted some things in Los Angeles for a few nights. The first time Trump used the term storm was when he met with the generals and called it the calm before the storm. It would be mass arrests of the dark side. He said this would happen during a time of mass protests, according to David Sorensen. Israel wanted to carry out this attack for months, but Trump told Israel to stand down, giving Iran a chance to negotiate and end this diplomatically. Iran refused to capitulate, so Trump stepped aside, according to Clandestine. Trump repeatedly warned Iran that this would happen if they did not come to the negotiating table and abandon their nuclear program. Now Trump is trying to return to negotiations and is offering Iran an economic deal to resolve this conflict and give the Iranians a way out to end it before it gets worse for them. On the positive side, the position of Trump and his administration is that they are not interested in getting more directly involved in the conflict. Trump and Putin had a productive phone call and appear to be on the same page regarding the situation. Trump's position is that all these wars must end. Tensions are high, but I don't think this will lead to a third world war or another protracted war in the Middle East. Edward Griffin explains that war and the threat of war are used as the preferred method to divide and conquer. He claims that we are being conditioned to believe that a nuclear war will cause total devastation, and that, based on that fear and the instinct for survival, people are being led to surrender their rights, the ultimate goal. He added that the threat of nuclear war is more of a psychological weapon than a military one. Once the population is cornered, the military can brought in a martial law imposed. Economy. Wall Street falls due to the Middle East and poor retail sales data. The stock market falls as Trump calls for Iran's unconditional surrender. Stocks rally as Iran seeks a de-escalation of the war. The Middle East is hurting Trump's economic plan, according to Rick Newman. Gold opened above $3,400 for the third consecutive day. Gold falls slightly after a report that Iran wants to resume talks. The conflict is unlikely to push the price of gold in the long term. Citi ends gold rally amid falling demand and Fed cuts. Silver is having a much better month than gold. The dollar rises as tensions intensify in the Middle East. Oil prices fall after Iran signals it wants to end the conflict. Central banks prefer gold to the dollar as a reserve. The Bank of Japan is caught between its large debt pile and its funding costs. Middle East. The US mobilizes aircraft and tankers toward Iran. President Trump leaves the G7 summit due to tensions in the Middle East. Trump advises evacuating Tehran residents in the event of a possible bombing. Trump says the US has control of Iran's airspace. Trump rules out killing Iran's supreme leader, although he knows his whereabouts. The US ordered its embassies to declare that it is not involved in attacks against Iran. Iran says at the UN that it is not seeking war, but will defend its sovereignty. Iran disrupts Israel's air defenses so they can attack each other. Iranian missiles hit a key Mossad headquarters. Israel built a secret military base inside Iran to carry out an attack. Europe. President Trump signs a trade agreement with the European Union. A new night train will connect 100 European cities for less than the cost of a flight. The Nordic model plummets. Finland is worse than Spain for job hunting. Spain. Orange alert in several regions of Spain due to heat and storms. The government shares the blame for the blackout between electricity grid and energy companies. Business concern over Spain's political drift. Tourism employment grew 3.5% in May, approaching 3 million employees. Pistachio crops are flooding Spain's fields, with higher profitability than other crops. The massive influx of millionaires to Madrid is destroying the essence of the capital. The environment is now like that of London or Paris. Spain concludes its deployment in Senegal and ends its presence in the Sahel. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.